I graduated last year, so not too long ago. I didn't get a graduation, so I'll probably be back to try and get one of those. But here is my slides. So I am Paris Reveira and I started That Good Hair. So as Emily explained, we are a customizable hair care brand. We serve people with waves, curls, coils and locks. And we are customizable because you can choose the ingredients that go inside of the bottle and that go onto your hair. So when I started That Good Hair, I chose to create a customizable hair care brand because not one size fits all when it comes to hair care products. So mainstream products can contain loads of different ingredients that some people are sensitive to, and it can cause adverse effects such as dandruff, scalp psoriasis, dermatitis, and people just have different reactions to different ingredients. It's kind of like with food. So ingredients like citrus oils, alcohol, fragrance, glycerin, even coconut oil and aloe vera juice can actually have adverse impacts on some people while they may be harmless for others. So here we have a picture of Shantae. Shantae actually has scalp psoriasis and dermatitis, and hair products used to make her hair feel like it was on fire. But with our sensitive formula, she was able to actually choose the ingredients that go inside of her hair products and create really clean, natural, fragrance-free, citrus oil-free hair products that finally gave her hair and the scalp the chance to breathe and allowed her to give her curly hair a go again. So we are not just sulfate-free, silicone-free, fragrance-free, we're so much more than that. When I came up with the idea for my hair care brand, I decided to have a look at the market and try and see what was out there. There's a lot of text on this page, but overall, all I'm saying is that there are definitely competitors. There are other people who make customizable hair care products such as Pros or Functional Beauty, and there's other people who target the textured hair market such as Share Moisture and Treasure Tress. But people with textured hair actually spend 8 times the amount as people with straight hair. So it's definitely a valuable market. It's worth £16 billion globally, and it's growing definitely over here in the UK. And when I kind of came up with my idea, I really wanted to stalk my competitors to see what it is that they were doing, who they served, if they were serving them well enough. So when I had a look at Pros and Functional Beauty, which are two customizable hair care brands, one of the main things that I saw is that they weren't necessarily serving the textured hair market, or whenever people with curly hair like mine would comment on Instagram or Facebook, they said, "Oh, it leaves my hair feeling dry," or just those sorts of comments. So I knew that there was a space in the market for me, or they would be saying things like, "Oh, but I wish I could actually choose my ingredients," which is what we do. So I knew that there was a chance for my little business to exist in the market as well. So how did I begin? Well, we went from a blog at 19 to a business at now 20, well, no, now I'm 23, but at 22. So the way that I began was in 2018, on the 1st of January, I decided to launch a blog. My hair looked kind of crazy. So this was me over here at maybe 18. It was dry, it was short, it was not living its best life. And I fell in love with making DIY hair products. So I would watch YouTube, I'd be mixing honey and eggs and yogurt and bananas and random stuff and putting it all over my hair. And that's kind of just how I fell into it. And I started actually to transform my hair. So this picture of me is during my first year of college. And then this picture of me is during my second year of college. My hair looked completely different. It was so much healthier, and I was still doing DIY products, and loads of people would always ask me about it. So then when I was in university, I was a lot broker as well, and I did not have the kind of money to spend on trial and error with tons of different hair products. I just wanted to choose the ingredients inside of my hair products, but even although I liked DIY, these hair products were going off in my fridge, and my mum was having a go at me for like wasting so many eggs and rice and loads of different ingredients. And I just wish that there was a way that I could choose the ingredients inside of my hair products. So I knew that nobody knew me. No one knows that I make hair products in my room. No one knows that I care about hair even. So I decided to start a blog. So I started this blog called That Good Hair in 2018 on the 1st of January. And this was just my way of kind of documenting different things about hair. Every single thing that I learned, I would put on that blog every single week. And I was consistently putting a blog every single week for 2 years before I actually even launched my business. And this is just because I wanted everyone to know me as the girl who is crazy about hair, the girl who's obsessed with ingredients, the girl who does hair. And it definitely paid off. People would start emailing me, asking me questions, asking me about hair. And that's what I became associated with, because I didn't want to just randomly come out with a hair care brand and no one knows that I care about it. No one knows that this is even something I'm interested in. So that's what I did. I had blogs there about how DIY can go wrong. Those were my best blogs. So it would be about me with like chunks of banana stuck in my hair, picking them out with my brother, because I didn't do it finely enough. And so I really tried to show the pros and cons of both sides and why there needed to be a middle solution where you could choose your own ingredients. How it started is these little bottles over here. So in May last year, I actually did a product testing sale. I had learned how to make professional hair care products. And so I really, really, really wanted to validate my idea and make sure that it was something that actually worked. It's not just something that I thought up. People would actually choose the ingredients inside of the hair products and like the concept. So I decided to do it for the month of May. I sold each bottle for £10, which is a lot less than the £55 that they are now. And I just wanted to see if people would give it a chance, if people would be able to choose the ingredients. And this was an amazing learning lesson for me, because I sold 39 bottles during that month, which was great. It showed that my idea did work, but I also received a ton of feedback. So I found out from people, we wish that there was information about what the ingredients do. Could you make it a bit clearer? Could you make it look better? Could you change this? Could you change that? And it made it just gave me so much information that I knew that when I came up with my real website for my real brand and my real products, these were all of the things that I was going to take on board. But it was great to actually kind of get in the lab and actually start making these hair products myself. So, my journey pre launch, because even though my business is now in existence, I think it's so, so, so important to think about all of the stuff that happened beforehand. Because my blog started even though I launched in May 2020, that is not when my journey started. It started on my blog in 2018. And then it went into the venture competition. So, the second I kind of came up with my idea, had been thinking about it for a few months, I went to Brunel. I went to the Entrepreneur Hub, or back then it was the Innovation Hub. And I had a meeting with Emmy, who has been with me all the way. And she sat down with me and she helped me to kind of create what was it? It was like a business plan, but it was a document that kind of showed you the
business model canvas.
Yes, the business model canvas. And so I had to fill out all of the sections of this. And she said, well, I think that you should apply for the venture competition. This is a great idea. Make sure you go away, do your market research, learn about the market, and apply for this competition. So I applied for the competition, and thankfully I actually won. So I was one of the 3 winners that year, and I won £3,000, which was insane to me, that someone actually believed in my idea and that it got validated. And I made sure I went and I opened up a bank account, popped that money in, and I was very strict to make sure I made that money last, which comes into the next section. So after winning that competition, I was on a high. I was like, yes, I'm the competition winner. This is the first one I applied for and I won it. And so I started applying for a reel of other competitions, and I was rejected for all of them. It's okay if anyone is applying for competitions and they're not going through, it's fine. It's normal, and not everyone is going to see your idea the way that you do. And sometimes there's other ideas that are just better than yours at the moment, or are a better fit for that resource right now, which is absolutely fine, because I still managed to launch my brand with just £3,000 that I won 2 years ago. After that, I went into different accelerators. So the first accelerator I went into was the NatWest Entrepreneur Accelerator. So this was in central London. I got an office. I would travel down there once or twice a week, and I would kind of work on what I wanted to do for my business. I learned so many amazing things. So I got to meet loads of different people that I'm still friends with today with their businesses. And it was just really, really educational. But whilst I was doing that, I was in my second year of university, and I kind of needed to focus on being in my second year of university. I was just about to start working at L'Oreal during my placement year. And so I just kind of had to put the business on pause for a little bit and focus on my academics and focus on that side of that side of my life. Whilst I was doing this, I used that £3,000 and I decided to pay for a course to learn how to actually make natural hair products. So this was awesome. This was a course with Formula Botanica, and it was the organic hair care formulation course. It lasts for 2 years. So I started it in 2018 and I managed to graduate it in 2019 because I just did it really, really quickly. And this was a great opportunity for me to actually learn how to make shampoos, learn how to make conditioners, and really start to understand the science behind hair products besides just mixing bananas and yogurt and honey. And it also showed me how I can actually incorporate those ingredients into professional hair products that work as well. After this, I joined the Founders Door Pre-Accelerator at the end of 2019. And when I joined this accelerator, they gave us a tech grant. So I managed to get a laptop, a camera, some other equipment, which was amazing because I used it for an event that I threw in that time as well. This was an event so that I could start building up some buzz, getting some contacts, and growing a community. This was the biggest thing that I would genuinely recommend to anyone. Really start thinking about your brand. The main differentiator between you and big businesses is you. You can be the face of your brand. You can really represent the kind of ethos. So for me, it's all about natural hair products, coming together, caring about your hair in a fun kind of unique ingredient focused way, and that's something that really appeals to some people. And so I created a WhatsApp group chat. I've got about 100 people in that group chat, and every day they talk about their hair routine, they talk about the ingredients inside of their hair products, and it's really about fostering that kind of community, because especially during the pandemic, that's what people care about. They care about being closer to other people. The next stage of my pre-launch journey was building my website. So offering a customizable hair care product means that it needs to be very intuitive. It needs to allow people to select the ingredients during the checkout options. So I definitely shopped around, and I couldn't use Shopify. I couldn't use WordPress. There were so many things that I couldn't use, which was really annoying. And I settled on Tilda, which is a web development site from Russia. As you all know, I was still starting from that same £3,000 that I won in 2018, and I had to make that stretch. So I would have loved to have gotten a website made, but I think a really big thing about being a startup entrepreneur, especially if you're in university or wherever you are, is that you need to work within your means. You can't splash £5,000 on a new website if you haven't got that. See what you can do and how you can make do. And even though I am actually starting to make really good revenue and good profit from my business, I still want to reserve that and keep it growing so that I can invest it into the business wisely, rather than just upscaling everything and, oh, let me get a new website now, and all of that kind of stuff. And one of the last kind of stages of my pre-launch journey was actually creating a marketing plan. So this was for the pre-launch. How did I want my pre-launch to look? All of these plans kind of got destroyed because of COVID. But I had plans of having an event. I had been stocked I'd confirmed to be a stockist at a shop in Westfields. So I was going to have the event there, which was going to be super exciting. Unfortunately, those plans fell through, but that didn't mean that I couldn't stop having a lovely pre-launch event. So what I did is I spoke to some of my friends at university to create some videos for me that I then sponsored on social media platforms. I spoke to loads of people. I spoke within my community to really get them to kind of try and build up the buzz for my launch. And yeah, then I launched. Have you got another slide for my launch? Let's have a look. Yes, so when I launched, this was my website, and I really wanted to show that good hair is healthy hair. I ran kind of like an Instagram live sort of event where I was showing people like different things you could do with your hair. I had on a ton of guests every single week to kind of keep that momentum going as well. So marketing was really, really important. So now that I launched, I had, how many did I have? I think I had something along the line of 20 subscribers when I first launched. And this was amazing for me because, I mean, it's the first real people who decided, yes, I'm going to commit. And it was great. There was only one problem. I hadn't tested my platform properly. So when I first created it, I created it using Typeform so that people could pay through a kind of survey and answer all the questions about their hair. This was not sustainable because it didn't turn the payments into a subscription. So all of the people who first decided to sign up and order, I couldn't get it to subscribe because it wasn't a subscription platform. So what I had to do is I had to just email the people back afterwards and check if they wanted to renew their subscription. Half of the people actually did stay on, which was amazing. But if I have one tip, I would say, please make sure that you check and double check and triple check before you go through. But yeah, so then I launched my brand. I started off with my subscribers, and this was in the middle of the pandemic. So this was in May 2020. It was definitely not how I planned, but it was still amazing nevertheless. As we went on throughout the year, I started to kind of like work, I got a job, and I'm still running my brand alongside that. But it hasn't always been a super easy journey. It's definitely like a roller coaster. But for me recently, since November, I would say, I think that my orders have really been ramping up, especially December, January, February. These have kind of been my best months. I remember one day in January, I randomly got 23 orders. So it's definitely been a thing of it's growing and it's expanding, but try to make sure that you stay on top of your finances. That for me is kind of like the biggest thing at the moment, because I don't want my sales to be growing and my outgoings to also be growing faster than that. So really make sure that you kind of stay on top of your business, that you try and make smart and savvy moves, and the entrepreneurial, innovative stuff that you did at the beginning doesn't disappear now because you're starting to get more consistent revenue. And try and stick to your roots. Okay. So when it comes to my brand, a little bit on how it works. So when a customer creates their products, they choose the base, they choose their active ingredients, and they choose their scent. So I really wanted to keep it super simple, that when people make their hair products, it's a really easy process to follow. If you have a business that's kind of product based, also try and keep it super simple, just because it makes it easier for people to follow and for people to understand. As I said, I was ingredient obsessed. So I had to learn a lot about ingredients. I've actually got my bookshelf over there, which is literally just stacked with books on ingredients. Try and make sure that if you are starting a business, that you understand what it is that you're doing, you understand the science behind it, you understand the logic behind it. So that way, even if a 5-year-old asked you, you could be able to explain it easily. And now we have customers. So I just wanted to throw in a few pictures of some customers, because for some reason my customers love taking pictures with their hair products, which is amazing for me because I can repost it. But try and really make it an experience. I think one of the things that I've really learned during this pandemic is that people still want that experience of going out and shopping, of going out and actually buying. So by offering a way that you can kind of make it a bit more interactive, so I created a hair workbook that people can fill in and track their hair journey and track their hair goals and all of that good stuff. And also I've made it that people can also customize the labels. So we add in some stickers sometimes that people can stick on their bottles. They can change the name on their packaging. Personalization is really everything when it comes to people and their hair products. And I think that's also what caused my massive spike in sales during December, because people loved giving my hair products as a gift. So what products do we sell? I've spoken a lot about them, but I haven't really shown them. So we sell cleansers, conditioners, we sell hair butters, and we also sell a mini version. So during June, July, August, that kind of time when my sales were a bit slow, I decided to introduce the mini collection. So this was a kind of like try before you buy version. They still buy it, but it's a smaller version that they can test on their hair to see if these hair products work before committing to the bigger full-size bottles. And this really worked really well for me, because it allowed them to try, but also I could put them through kind of like a nurture phase of making sure that I kept in communication with that customer, kept on checking on them, seeing if they like the hair products, before then upselling them to the bigger ones. I felt that once I got a customer kind of through the door to try something, that they tended to stay on and actually upgrade to the full size. So that was another marketing tactic that I tried. And yeah, the business model. So as I've said, we have subscribers. So for the reason we chose a subscription business model is because it's a lot more scalable, and you have kind of consistent monthly revenue every single time you get on a new subscriber, as opposed to just one-time purchases. But we do have one-time purchases. We have our mini collection, and we also have our hair butter, which is available as a one-time purchase. These are also still customizable, but they're just smaller quantities and they're a lot cheaper to produce as well. Then we have our monthly subscription. So this is our cleanser and our conditioner, which you can order on a monthly basis. And this is our most recommended option as well. And then finally, we have the quarterly subscription or the yearly subscription, or the bi-monthly subscription as well, actually. And so this is for customers who may not use up as much hair products as they do on a monthly basis. And so they prefer to space it out over a longer period of time. Doesn't matter, it's still great to kind of retain that customer and keep them on board for a longer period of time. And so this is kind of my last page. So we really wanted to create a natural luxury experience for people when it comes to their hair. And I think that when you start a business, having a clear kind of mission or a clear kind of objective really helps you when it comes to guiding your decisions. Because I knew I wanted to create a natural luxury experience, I made sure that there was free delivery so that people didn't have to worry about having a delivery charge. I made sure that there was formula revisions so people can actually change the ingredients inside of their hair products. It gives them that choice. I only use organic ingredients. So these are Cosmos certified organic ingredients that people are choosing from. And I also made sure to implement a refill and recycle scheme. So people can actually send back their bottles to be refilled. And it's just a bit of sustainability that kind of gives into that natural luxury experience as well. Thank you guys for all listening to my slides. I'll stop sharing now. But hopefully you all enjoyed.
Thanks very much, Paris. That was great and gave us obviously a very good insight on building a business from scratch, but also building a business while you're still a student, starting in year one, which is amazing. So thanks again. And does anyone have any questions that you would like to ask Paris, either by unmuting or by popping your question in the chat?
Yes, I have a question.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, Paris, thank you so much. Such an inspiring story. And great storytelling, by the way. My question is, you've been in this journey where you've been, where you won the competition, and then you've been through all of these stages, and and you got a job. What has kept you focused, and what keeps you, that's where I want to go. That's what I want to achieve. Well, I don't know what keeps that fire going.
It can really be hard. I think having a good support network around you, because you're not, it's kind of like going to the gym. You may have a goal, you want to get fit, you want to have you want to be healthy, but it can be difficult to sometimes go there because you can be a bit unmotivated. But I think having people around you, sometimes coming up with people who also have businesses, talking to them whenever you're feeling, oh, this isn't going right, or I've encountered this problem, or I don't know why my sales aren't going well at the moment, and they can give you some advice. I think even though I didn't actually manage to win any other competitions, being a part of so many different accelerators meant that I was in an ecosystem surrounded by other people who are kind of at the same stage of their business as me. And it just meant that I was able to kind of like communicate any struggles I was having and always stay motivated, because you're seeing other people who are making their businesses happen. And it definitely pushes you forward. Also, picking a business that you like. So I've been really passionate about hair. I've been really passionate about kind of like making DIY products and being a weird scientist in my house. So now doing that and getting paid by people and people actually appreciating what I'm making is a motivation in itself.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Any other questions?
I was just to follow on from that, and I know we met in your first year and you started your blog, as so many people have the ambition to do, but what's really inspiring is you kept it up and you really did write that blog every single week, and it wasn't just a paragraph, it was proper, meaty content. But on a practical level, how did you find juggling your uni work with writing a blog every single week?
It was difficult. There were some times that, like Sunday at night time, I would suddenly remember, I haven't written a blog this week, and I'll quickly go and write. I think time management is a really, really important thing. I think for me, something that helped was kind of creating a batch system. So doing like tasks together. So if I wanted to write some blog content, I would plan the topics of the blogs that I want to write for the month. I would research the topics as well. And then I would create some bullet points, or I'd create the headers, or I'd create something just so it makes it easier that when I come back to it the next week, I know, oh yeah, I was going to write about shrinkage. Here are the 3 ways that you can help with shrinkage. Just making it like tasks together was a really great thing. And also, I was a super nerd. So I was always in my lectures. I never missed a lecture. I would always kind of stay on top of my university work. So that really helped. But for me, probably the fact that I lived at home instead of on campus kind of helped me out as well, just because I was always seeing my friends, but I wasn't always going out, like hanging out with my flatmates and stuff like that, living at home, and my mum going, oh wait, why haven't you been doing this recently? Or, oh, did you not write a blog this week? And I'd be like, oh yeah, okay, let me write one. So that definitely helped me to kind of stay on top of my life.
Thanks for those good tips there. There's some questions on the chat as well.
I want to add something on that.
Oh, sorry,
could I? Yeah. So Paris, it's a very interesting thing that I want to share. Like Paris and I actually met like 2018. It was actually I think the person who actually started Cobra was also there, and there was like a whole conference happening in Brunel, and we were sitting next to each other. And that's where I think I got it. So congratulations, Paris. I think you did a brilliant job. Yeah. So I just want to say, yeah, I'm really proud of you. And that's the first time when I met her, and that was actually at Brunel University itself. I wasn't a part of Brunel at that time, but I think you were. And yeah, that's what inspired me to be in Brunel. And that's how I kind of came about being a Brunel student and eventually ending up in Entrepreneur Hub, right? So
amazing.
Yeah, that is amazing. I didn't know that, Neil. That's great.
Yeah, small world. I looked at it and I was like, okay, the good hair. I know it. She was someone who was crazy about the hair. So yeah, awesome. Great job.
Marketing Brunel on top of everything else. Love it.
Hi, Emmy. Are there any questions in the blog? While you're looking, I was just wondering, Paris, have you thought about a team, or are you a team, or do you have a team?
So I don't have a team at the moment. It's just been kind of me doing all the bases of the business, which it is definitely challenging, especially with time management and making sure that I don't make a mistake. It can be a difficult kind of thing, but I think I would like to start building a team in the future. I'm not sure when as yet, because we only launched in May, so we've not even existed for a year as yet. And sales only really started to kind of like pick up from November, December time. So I really want to just kind of make sure that everything stays consistent, especially with all of the changes with the pandemic and that kind of stuff. You never know which way it's going to turn. So I think when I get to more kind of like consistent ground, then I'll go, okay, we're ready to take on a social media assistant or expand the team in that way.
Great, thanks to you.
Just on the chat, there's some questions about the product. Questions around, do you need to register the product composition? I guess it's a question about regulation, or is it an open market? And are you on any e-commerce sites?
Yeah. So there is definitely regulation. So when I had to go through the regulation process for my products, I created bases, so that way those are what gets regulated, and then people can choose the added ingredients that go into that. So I had to get my products stability tested, which was a lot of money. So I actually brought the stability testing kit here. And so that way I can consistently stability test every product that I make for someone without it, just so I can make sure that everything is safe. I don't want anyone to ever get a product and then it goes weird. So I brought the stability testing kit for my house. And then after that, it has to be checked by a cosmetic, I forgot the full name, but a cosmetics something certifier. And so they check the products, then I get a certificate, and then it has to go to the European, well, it's not the European anymore, but it's the United Kingdom Product Regulatory Board, and they just have a list of all of the products basically sold within the UK. So I had to go through that. And then if I'm sold on any e-commerce sites, so we sell via our own website, which is thatgoodhair.co.uk, but we're also stocked with the subscription box for curlyhair.co.uk as well. And eventually, once stores open, we should be stocked in some shops as well. But that wouldn't be customizable. It would just be for the product basis, but super exciting.
Thanks. There's another question on what platform you were using for blogging.
Oh yeah, for blogging, I was using WordPress. So I just paid for the kind of like basic WordPress subscription that gives you the domain name as well. And I would write a blog there every week. I didn't even get the like website builder. I just kind of like built it myself, and it looks horrendous. It's still there. You can find it at like, I think the URL is now like thatgoodhair.wordpress.com or .co.uk. It looks terrible. But humble beginnings.
It worked, that's what matters.
Yeah.
And then another question on how you running your operations day to day now.
So day to day, I would say that I wake up at about 6 or 5:36, so that I can get in about an hour and a half or 2 hours of work on my business before I start my actual job and start getting ready for work. So from about 5:30 to 7:30, I'll work on my business. So I'll wake up. There's loads of different tasks that I'll set myself. So for example, this morning I read my book. I checked all of my emails to see any emails that I was getting from customers. I packaged some orders. So I had some hair products that I made last night, printed out the labels this morning, stuck on the labels, put them in the boxes, got those all ready by the front door. My mum will sometimes take them to the post office for me. I got some more orders this evening, which I made. That's kind of the main stuff that I do on a monthly basis. I will plan all of the social media content that I want to do. So I'll spend a whole Saturday, the whole day, thinking of all of the content that I want to plan for that month. So for example, next month is March, which is Mother's Day. So I will think of all of the kind of Mother's Day hair content that I create. I created stuff about the hair products your mum used to use on you as a kid, the reasons that good hair is a great gift, the way your hair changes as you age. So I just kind of thought of different topics for that week. Ingredients that are great for hair that's aging. So for example, hibiscus powder, which helps with graying hair, jojoba oil, which helps with the sebum development, all of those sorts of things, so that I created all of the posts. So those are just ready to go out automatically. I use a platform called Later, which kind of does automatic social media posting. I messaged on the group chat. So one thing that I'm going to be doing more of this year is creating more group chats, but I created one called the Hair Growth Challenge. So I message on there, take a picture of what I'm doing with my hair for the day. So there's tons of different things that I kind of do throughout the day for my business. But I think just kind of, for me, especially waking up that 2 hours earlier really helped me, because I felt that I just didn't have enough time in the day. I get tired. I'm an early bird, so I fall asleep at 10 o'clock. And I just needed to make sure that I was like finding other hours somewhere else that I could just do the stuff that I need to do. During my lunch break sometimes, especially, thankfully I work from home, but sometimes I'll just make some hair products if I've got some orders come through. That's kind of how I manage my time. It's not perfect, but it's getting everything done.
Great, thanks, Paris. Makes me feel tired listening to it's great, the motivation and the discipline. Someone else is asking about your ideas for blogging. How did you manage to stay consistent? I think you mentioned earlier that you were making sort of, again, planning ahead, as I guess you now do with your social media content. Would you say that was the main way?
100%. So I would sit down. My mum is actually really good at coming up with ideas for blogs. So I'd sit down with my mum and she would literally just list off ideas off the top of her head, and I'd write down all of these titles of different blogs. And then I'd kind of just write some bullet points on content. And then when I get time, I'd just write a blog. I'd really just aim for about 1,000 words per blog. I'd make sure that I mentioned the keyword at least 3 times in the blog for SEO. That was kind of like a system that I did to write blogs.
Alexander, the question on a team, I think that's what Mike was asking earlier on, Paris, about having a team at some point. Did that answer your question, Alexander? Was there something more you wanted to add?
I've probably missed it when Mike asked, probably, so that's why.
Oh no, it's okay. I'll answer it again. So I don't currently have a team at the moment, because I feel like my business has only just sort of gotten consistent revenue and sales from about November time. And also with the pandemic, I just kind of want to wait a little bit longer until things are a bit more smoothed out. And we end lockdown, and then I'll start looking about, okay, so let me get a social media assistant, or let me get a product development assistant, that kind of thing. Thanks,
Paris. Wow, that's a lot of questions. Anyone else, any questions? Or
I had one more. It's about my inquisitiveness and about your product rather than about your business. Do you have a sell-by date?
Yes, so all of my products are created to last for a year, but to be honest, they could actually last for 2 years. I say they last for a year because I want people to use them and then come back and buy more.
Also, I guess because you're using organic ingredients, it wouldn't last as, even with the special formulations or whatever method you're using, it wouldn't last as long as the synthetic or artificial stuff.
It depends, but my products have a preservative in it. Right. Anyway, so they are preserved to last long enough. But yeah.
Did you see the note from Winnie? You've just got yourself a new customer.
Oh, thanks, Winnie. Let me.
Can I speak? Just a minute. First of all, congratulations, Paris. You've really done so well so far. And yeah, time management and discipline is really key. I love hair. And I think I will speak to you, maybe I'll look for you on social media to connect, and definitely order some the hair butter and some customizable hair products. So thank you so much.
No, I'm so glad that you like it. Yeah, 100%. perseverance. I would really say consistency is key. That's kind of one of the main things, kind of building that habit and being consistent, because it's super hard. Like going to the gym, consistency is everything. If you just keep going and keep showing up every day, it really makes the difference. I think one of the main things for me, even if I try and just do a little bit, and some days I really just don't feel like it. Some days I'm tired. Some days I've been to a birthday party or on meetings all day, but just doing a little bit goes a long way.
Thanks, Paris. All very good tips. There's also a question about sharing your social media and website links, which
yeah, of course. My on all social media platforms, we're That Good Hair UK, and my website is just thatgoodhair.co.uk. Oh, I just saw a question in the chat, and it says, if you were to redo your launch, would you use the same pre-buzz techniques, and why? So when I worked at L'Oreal, I was in the, what was I in? I was in the chief marketing office. So I kind of oversaw all of the marketing campaigns that they did. And so I really saw the importance of kind of like building that pre-buzz before you actually launch, and the importance of maintaining that momentum. So for me, building that pre-buzz meant literally messaging every single person on my WhatsApp list. It meant kind of getting them to try and tell a friend, sharing video content, sponsoring posts. Obviously during lockdown, it did make it a bit more difficult because you can't actually be out. I couldn't like send out flyers or anything like that, or invite people to a specific event, which I would have done otherwise. And then maintaining that momentum afterwards. So I would do weekly Instagram lives with people whose platform was slightly bigger than mine. So if I had, say I had 500 followers, I would message people who had 1,000 followers, just so it's just that little bit bigger. I wasn't going for people who had like 1 million followers, just that little bit bigger. So it's like, okay, yeah, sure, I'll help you out. I'll share my audience with you. And then now that I'm at 1,000 followers, I go for people who have about 2,000 or 3,000 followers and kind of grow up that way. Those are kind of like the main tactics that I think work. But I think, yeah, building that momentum and building that pre-buzz before you launch, so that people are excited. You want people to be excited about your brand, and to kind of be talking about it and telling their friends and telling their family. That's really important, because otherwise no one's going to know about you. Awareness is such a key thing, especially when you're a startup. So that was something that was really kind of major for me. I really wanted to create that pre-buzz. What is the best way to build momentum? So for me, the best way to build momentum was to tell people. Fortunately, I kind of knew people who already were interested in hair. I joined every Facebook group under the sun and would just kind of message, or for me, I would post blogs. So I wouldn't directly say, oh, go buy these hair products, but I would say, oh, you have this problem with your hair, read this blog. And then I'd see they'd subscribe to like my newsletter and stuff. Building up that email newsletter is a really great way for people to kind of be a part of your community, and also to see the things that you're doing. And you can like see how big your if you've got an email newsletter and you have 1,000 people or 500 people in your email newsletters, and you realize that a ton of them are girls of this certain age who are, let's say, 10 years old, you know to send a specific type of content to them, and you can really segment your audience and send content that will be specific to this group. So that's a great way to build momentum.
I think we have one person with their hand up.
Hi there. I just wanted to ask, thank you, by the way, for such an open and honest sharing of experience, because I think part of why probably a lot of people don't go ahead with developing their ideas is thinking that it's not good enough, they won't be able to do it. And like hearing from you, like what your daily routine is, and in a good way, your timeline so far, it just gives an indication that you can start really small, really slow, and build it up. So it gives a lot of inspiration. So I've got a question for you and one idea. So the question is, right, I probably lost my plot now, but anyway, so so let me tell you the idea. And then, oh yes, what is your challenge? What are you looking for? So if you were like, if you had like a panel of advisors, what would you ask them? What is the thing that you're looking to develop? And I just want to make a point afterwards.
Okay, yeah, no, 100%. So for me at the stage of my business, I would ask about, honestly, it would be about finance. So it would be about the kind of finance aspect of my business. So as I said, I don't want it that my costs are going higher than my outgoings are going higher than my income. And when I started to get more customers, I realized that I was actually suddenly spending a lot of money, buying loads of random stuff and things that would come that were broken or making mistakes. And I was like, hang on, how am I suddenly spending £1,000 a month on stuff when before I was spending like £20? What happened? What changed? So if I had advisors, I would definitely ask them that. But what I've done instead is I've started buying some books. So I just ordered a book called Profit First. I would, if any of you are trying to start a business, I would actually really recommend reading that book. I'm nearly at the end, because I've wanted to turbo read it so I can fix my business and save it from me. But yeah, it's really good that if you had advisors, you could definitely ask them. A lot of the time I ask Emmy. So I'll just send Emmy an email when things are going wrong, and she'll always give me some great advice. But yeah, so I think finances at my stage is kind of like the biggest thing that I'm learning about.
Okay, so I promised I'll give you one idea. It's something I've read about in a marketing book. And it is, because you've got a mini collection, how you can actually use free marketing is by sending your regular subscribers one of the mini collection as a gift, especially now, pre 8th of March, pre Mother's Day, etc. You can just gift that to them, because they will find at least one person to give it to, and being it close to a day like this, it guarantees that people, well, there will be people that will just use it for themselves, but it's a pretty really nice box. There is a high chance they will give it to someone else, and I'll tell you where the idea came from. A lot of publishers, when they publish a book, they send to people of influence to read it, but they send 2 copies, so they have 1 copy for themselves and 1 copy for someone else. And it makes sense not to throw the book, because 2 of them, what could you do, but to give it to someone you think will be interested. So this way you're kind of doubling your subscription base, so to speak.
Yeah,
so that's the idea. And I really, really enjoyed listening to you, and you're very genuine. So I have been given the gift of accessing a new application called Clubhouse, where a lot of successful entrepreneurs of the kind of Rob Moore in the UK, Grant Cardone, and different people, there are a lot of venture capitalists there, etc. So I would like to give you one of my 2 invites, because it's exclusive. So if you want to send me an email to reach out, please do. I was given it as a gift by someone who attended the event, and I asked, oh, how do you go about it? Because it's very exclusive at the moment. It's less than a year old, and it's a huge access to venture capitalists, advisors, successful entrepreneurs, angel investors, whatever.
Yeah,
and it's
no, 100%. The only downside is that it's only on iPhone, and I have a Samsung. So someone tried to give me the invite before, and
so you've got that. I would recommend it, honestly. I was a Samsung user, and I literally found the cheapest ever phone that I can upgrade to, and to be able to use the app. It is worth it.
Okay, all right. I think, to be honest, my boyfriend did offer me his old iPhone, so I think I might actually take it up.
Do it. I know it's a bit of more work, but I will leave my email just in case your other invite expired. But
thank you so much.
Good luck.
Thank you. That's Very good.
Yeah. So I think if there's no more questions, we can wrap up.
Can I jump in with a comment? I've been listening to all of this, Paris, and your enthusiasm is fantastic. Your product sounds fantastic. But the thing to get across to the audience is that you've chosen not to start a business and not work. You're working and having a business, and it's not an either or decision. You've decided to do both until the time is right. And some people just think, oh, I better be an entrepreneur, which means I can't work. But you're balancing the two until the time's right. And I think that's a wonderful choice, and you're obviously making the most of it. And I wanted to raise that as a point for the others. Thanks.
Thanks so much, Mike. To be honest, it wasn't really an intentional choice. After graduating, obviously I graduated kind of in the middle of the pandemic, and I did plan on going into my business full time, but it was really just the kind of uncertain environment at the moment that just made me kind of double think it and go, no, actually, let me just weigh out my options and make sure that I'm kind of in a good and stable position. Yeah, that was kind of the main determinator for me.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Paris, for today's session. And thank you all for attending. We do hope that it has inspired you in your entrepreneurial journey. If there's no more questions, before we stop today's session, I will just quickly launch a poll so that we can gather